I'm Sarah from Illuminati Hotties, and these are records in my life.
Thanks so much for taking the time. Be on records in my life. Exciting times. Your new record, Power, is dropping in less than 2 months, I think, right? If I'm not
Yeah,
correct.
about 2 months, yeah.
Yeah. Can you tell us a bit about it and any collaborators, where you worked on it, et cetera,
Totally.
et cetera?
Yeah, I mean, there were a lot of collaborators on this one, which was exciting and kind of different from how I've done the last few records. I was able to work with John Congleton on some of these songs. Um, Jason McGurr played drums on a lot of these songs from Death Cab. Um, there were some writing sessions with Susie Shin, Maddie Ross, Andy Rosen. Cavetown appears on a song,
Oh,
and
wow.
um, he wrote some of that as well. And then yeah, so there were a lot of people jumping in on this.
What's a favorite record by, since the show's called Records in My Life, what's a favorite record by John that he's done?
He's done so many that I just am, have been obsessed with forever. I think like the first few St. Vincent records are standouts to me. Um, he did the last Tegan and Sara record, which I thought was great, as well as the last Death Cab record. So like, there's a lot of new stuff he's working on too. The Wallows stuff, I love. Um, his project, Paper Chase, going way back, is kind
Yeah.
of an inspirational project for sure. Um, but yeah, he has sort of continued to be just like a driving force of the music that is like both peers of mine and um, you know, people that I think of as role models. The last Mannequin Pussy album was great that Congleton did.
Thank you so much again for being on Records in My Life. This show is about you, Sarah Tudzin, and the records that inspire you in your life. You yourself have produced and collaborated on. I was blown away because I was looking. I knew you worked on a number of records, but like the list I was looking at, I was like, "Holy shit!" I had no idea. Really, it's a true. It's amazing. I wanted to ask you. I'm going to put you on the spot here because I know you're friends probably with most of the artists that you've worked with on, and like boygenius, Speedy Ortiz, slowdive. I'm just looking at my list, Cloud Nothings. Can you give me one or two of your favorites or that you're most proud of?
I mean, being a part of the boygenius record was very special. Just the whole process of how they recorded that album, and they did it out at Shangri-La in Malibu, which was sort of a bucket list studio for me. Um, and the people, I got to work under Catherine Marks, who was producing, and work with a lot of my friends and people who became close friends over the course of making that record. And yeah, I think that like just this the spirit in the room of making that album was quite different than a lot of other projects I've worked on. And it was nice to sort of be able to be a small cog in that machine.
I'm putting you on the spot here. I know, as I said, you work closely with a lot of people, but I mean, it's like people get it. I wouldn't, they're probably not
Yeah.
taking it personally.
No, totally. I mean, that Speedy Ortiz record that came out was really special because we got to go to a lot of. We went out to Rancho de la Luna, which is David Catching's
Another
studio.
legendary spot.
Yeah, really legendary. I mean, amazing albums have been made there, and the vibe that David has set up for that studio is like really unique and special, and he makes it feel so comfortable to be there. And then we continued to make it at Sonic Ranch, which I've been to a few times now. Um, and that studio also is just sort of like deserty and haunted, and um, the live rooms there are incredible, and the guy that runs it, Tony, is such a special person and a part of so much recorded history now.
If you could go back in time, what would be a record you could be a fly on the wall for? And any record, like could be the Beatles or Billie Holiday, or which record?
I mean, I would love to be a fly on the wall, like basically on any album that Prince has ever made. I think that like, well, he was a workaholic, like he was working 18 hours a day, or around the clock in the studio. He basically like created this, what ended up being Studio 3 at Sunset Sound, was like a lot of the like gear and room build out was like, at his request, I think. And I think I would just really like to see what his style was, because he spent so many hours around the clock doing it. And I think he was working for all of them. And like a lot of the albums I've been a part of where it's like kind of becomes round the clock, not all of the hours are like used for active creation, but I got the feeling that from stories I've heard and read that Prince was really using like all of his time pretty seriously, and obviously playing a lot of the instruments that you're hearing and programming the drums and stuff.
Fun question. You've saved, well, maybe some people think it's fun, not, but you've saved the cats. You have one record to run out of the house with. Which one would it be?
Maybe I would take Stevie Wonder, Songs in the Key of Life. It's just, like it has hits and it has slow jams, and it's like 2 hours of songs.
Great choice.
Yeah.
Beautiful record. That record will stand the test of time for sure. I mean, it's a wonderful.
100%. It's one of my favorites that I actually do have a physical copy of as well, I think.
What record is still inspiring you when you listen to as an artist, songwriter, producer, when you pop it on and it's still like?
I have two big ones that I come back to all the time. One is Either Or by Elliot Smith. And honestly, his self-titled too are both like every time I listen to Elliot Smith, period, I'm just like, no one has done this better. Like the songwriting is unbelievable. The melodies are unbelievable. He's doing sort of like a Beatles-esque school of thought approach to songwriting, but it's so unique at the same time. And I think like lyrically, he's just sort of inspired me forever. I would also say maybe Age of Odds is an album by Sufjan Stevens that I come back to all the time. And there's other albums of his that I listen to more, but that album in particular is so unique in its world building. And I think that it, like a lot of artists make concept albums, and I think that this one is sort of like the best example of like a conceptual through line beginning to end. Like it's very like visually stunning. Even just listening to it, I feel like there's like a visual storyline that kind of goes with it, and like it all sort of leads up to this final like act 3 20-minute saga of music. And like I kind of feel like the art of like long form audio is not lost on Sufjan Stevens, and he does a great job of putting stuff together like that.
We are a Canadian-based program, so I wanted to ask you, you mentioned Tegan and Sarah, maybe give us another one, but what's your favorite Canadian record? What or one you have been listening to for quite often?
Oh yeah, I mean, probably there's so many, there's sort of like the 2000s like broken social scene era of musicians, and Set Yourself on Fire by Stars has always been a huge heavy rotation album for me, as well as Meadows from Feist. I think Feist is sort of like a major like she's a person who like I feel like really did it, and like is very inspiring in her career path. And as well as just, she's so artistic and wild on medals, and like has had the opportunity to go full artist, as well as like, has had commercial success, and I think the world of her. So probably those two.
Fantastic choices.
Yeah.
I'm going to go back. You mentioned Elliot Smith. Let's stay on the geographical topic. Favorite Los Angeles record?
Ooh, I mean,
you can go back in, many years, obviously.
I feel like, well, this is another Canadian actually, but I kind of feel like Joni Mitchell, de facto became like a Californian canyon
Yes.
Person, and
Definitely.
But I love this album so much. Ladies of the Canyon.
Thank you again for being on Records of My Life. On to the speed round, then we'll let you get off with the beautiful Los Angeles. I think you're in Los Angeles today. I think I see the sun veering into the blinds there, but hope you enjoy the LA.
100%.
Fantastic. Weed, water, or wine to listen to or to write?
Okay, to write, water. I've tried to write like under the influence, and I feel like it always is a train wreck. To listen, wine.
Record of your high school years?
Take Off Your Pants and Jacket by Blink-182.
That's been referenced. That's a good one. Coffee with an artist, alive or dead?
I'm gonna say Coffee with Willie Nelson.
Yeah. No, he seems like he'd be a charming, nice, sweet man to talk to. You know what I mean? It's not like, it would be different than sitting down with, like, I'm not saying Bob Dylan's not a nice guy, but like Bob Dylan or Neil Young, you know what I mean? Can you imagine? It might be
I thought about Bob Dylan, and I think that I think like Bob Dylan of today, or even if it was Bob Dylan 40 years ago, like I'm not sure that it would go so well. But yeah, Willie Nelson kind of seems like, not only do I have so many questions to ask someone like that, but also I think he would probably be a good hang.
Words of wisdom for your fans and our audience.
Be yourself and maintain authenticity at all times, not as an act of rebellion, but as an act of self-preservation.
The show is really nothing without you. So please like or subscribe or check out our Patreon. And this year we've switched it up, and you can win a record just for leaving a comment. Thank you again, and we love you. Peace.